Here's a woman, je me regarde. Here's a woman, je me regarde.
Great record.
Excellent album. We learned a lot from
Great
it.
record.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!
Here's a woman, je me regarde.
Having fun. I'm bringing back the soundboards again. I had fallen out of a groove. I said, you know, what the hell am I doing? What the hell am I doing? Hey, everybody, just so you know, over here, this lava lamp over here, I forgot to put, when I come in here, in the wintertime, I put the jester hat on top of this for like the hour before I go live to help soften up the wax. Because these things go on a timer at like 3 p.m. in the wintertime to try to give it the bulbs some time to warm up, melt the wax, and actually get that wonderful gloopy appearance. You got a timestamp when this thing finally falls. We're probably not too far away from this big gloopy part of wax going kerplunk. You got a timestamp when it happens. I'm going to say. I want the chat room to go nuts when this thing falls. Okay, almost like it's Pee-wee's Playhouse, and like the secret word of the day was uttered. I want you guys to go ape shit. I'll try to keep an eye out for it to see what you guys say in the chat, and who knows, just a little something for the kids to do at home. You know what I mean? Anyway, it's going to be a great night. I'm listening to Akira the Don, 17 or 70. When I was 17, which I think is actually pretty appropriate, aside from the fact that it's a banging track. But we've been talking a little bit about generations the last couple of nights. We're going to talk a little bit about it tonight. I just want to toss it Lindsay Sharman's way because this is the kind of work that she does, especially from the standpoint of an educator and, you know, what people are working through, the trauma that is dealt out through the system, the trauma that people are already dealing with, and we have a lot to mix up. But that's not only it. That's not the only thing. I want to hear what she thinks about the Epstein files, especially from the point of it being actually very cataclysmic for mankind. The farther you dig, you're actually observing people who seem to be preparing for some sort of cataclysm. Things that we've like, seriously, there's no limit to where the conspiracy theories have been absolutely validated. There's almost no limit except flat earth. We still, like I said, we haven't gotten that. We've gotten subterranean living a little bit, but we haven't gotten there yet. Don't worry, guys. I'm sure you guys don't worry. Your day will come. Your day will come and you'll have everything. So Lindsay's going to be showing up in about 15 minutes or so. We have a bunch of stuff to do before then. It's a Badlands night. I love when it's a Badlands night. Hello to everybody on Badlands. Reese over there on Badlands says, hey, Frank, ready for another great show. Well, hey, I love chilling with you guys. I love when you're chilling with us. It happens every night of the week, 7 o'clock. Well, every night of the work week. And then every other Friday. But that's something else. Doesn't matter. We get our fill from Monday to Thursday. We're still going to have the Friday morning show tomorrow. We're going to have the Saturday night special at 9 o'clock. My cousins are going to be in. The hookahs will be packed. We will be ripping and roaring. And it's going to be a fun time of nostalgia, VHS, tinted everything. That's what I say. But this thing's getting close. I can feel the weight. I can feel the heat. Yes, I'm afraid of your heat. So we've got news, we've got reels, we've got open lines a little bit later on. We've also got Lindsay Sharman will be here shortly. And yeah, on the flip side tonight, we're going to have a proper joy scroll. And what I mean is that we're going to just get what we get from my horrendous, ridiculous algorithm that I have built brick by brick, click by click. That is, I embarrass Lauren every night. Every night that we decide, hey, we got 10 minutes. You want to watch some reels together? Sure. We'll cast it onto the television. And then it's just me looking over at Lauren every couple of minutes, looking over at Lauren to see what she thinks, to see if she's judging me. And all I see is this. I don't know. So there you go. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. No cherry-picked reels, no submissions tonight. We're just going to be at the mercy of the algorithm. That's afterwards. Other than that, I just got to say, don't lurk. In fact, we were talking about this last night. Clippers, do you know a young Zoomer or an older Gen Alpha who is an absolute nuisance when it comes to video clipping? Ask them if they want a spring and summer intern, man. Do they want an internship with Quite Frankly? They can do it from any part of the country, any part of the world. Get in touch with me. Anybody who knows exactly what they're doing, just spotting things or taking mundane parts of the show and editing in a way where it is absolutely ridiculous. I want that kind of energy, okay? To complement all the other things that we're doing, okay? I just want an army of maniacs. I want an army of video clipping maniacs. And if these things pop off and it actually earns AdSense, if that happens, I'll just give you all the AdSense. I don't care. That'll be your reward. Okay? There'll be bounties. All I care about is introducing people to the show and reconnecting with our absolutely insane roots. And that's what we're doing. Okay? And also, I'd love to travel a little bit and bring the show on the road, but we'll see where we can manage that. So don't lurk and get the word out there. I want insane video clippers for interns. Okay? This is the last night of the Super Chat raffle. We're going to be, I have like 140 names over here so far from the earlier days of the week. Tonight we're pulling the name. You can still get in on that with the Super Chat to YouTube, Rumble, the Super Chat, quite frankly, superchat.com, and the gold pills. You got a Keto Brainz gold ticket that is going to give you an entire bag right to your house. You're going to get Jane Barlow's book, Be Your Own Shaman, and you need it at home. You're going to love it. You're going to give yourself a couple of extra garden projects this week, this year, this summer, whatever the hell it is. And then also on top of that, I'm going to throw in a cluster of 3 silver quarters for my private stash. You're getting 3 silver quarters for my private stash and a 20th anniversary, Quite Frankly, t-shirt. You just got to give me the size, and I'll send it to you. And, of course, you can snag one of those shirts tonight if you become a sponsor, a monthly sponsor for $10 or more. Okay, let's get into this a little bit more, though, because we have something crazy that has just happened. That is it. Scientists have discovered oldest form of writing in mysterious Stone Age engravings. Okay? Stone Age, we're talking about Germany here. The origins of writing aren't set in stone. The ancient cave peoples weren't as illiterate as portrayed in popular media. Archaeologists have discovered Paleolithic glyphs in a German cave that could potentially push back the history of written communication by over 30,000 years, per a rock-solid study in the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. According to the researchers, the symbols were engraved on artifacts that dated back some 40,000 years to the Stone Age, where early humans arrived in Europe from Africa. That's what they say, right? I can't wait to get Robert Sepper on to talk about the out of Africa theory. I can't wait to get him on. I'm going to try him one more time. I just don't want to be a pest. Despite their age, these ancient etchings boasted a complexity comparable to the early stages of the world's oldest writing system, cuneiform, which originated about 5,000 years ago, the New Scientist reported. What's even crazier is that that some of these new writings have already been translated. And here's what we have. This is another article followed up. It was actually written by a guy named Bibi Netanyahu. Headline, Ancient Writings Confirm Iran is only weeks away from a nuclear weapon. So that, I don't know what more you need to grasp the seriousness of the situation.
Oh, shit.
That's exactly what Bibi said. Anyway, so everything just keeps getting older is the phrase, right? All right, into right next door, 4 miles that away in Chappaqua, we've got this old hag. Hillary Clinton says that she has no new information on Jeffrey Epstein. Well, that's good enough for me. Have a nice day, Madam Secretary. Oh, I heard you have a DeChico's around here. Could you give me directions? Yes. Former President Bill Clinton is scheduled to sit down for a similar deposition on Friday. They're doing it from their homes to make sure that they're comfortable and they don't have to use anybody else's bidet. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton told the House Oversight Committee on Thursday she has no new information about Jeffrey Epstein or his co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell, criticizing Republicans' handling of their investigation into the late convicted sex offender. Now, weird thing, apparently she stormed out because there was a picture that was taken by Lauren Boebert that was leaked. It was just a picture of Hillary Clinton sitting there. It could have been any other congressional hearing that you've ever seen. She's just sitting there behind a microphone. And I don't know what the hell all the reporting was about storming off because of the leaked picture, the published picture that was tweeted out there. But because I remember her saying that she wanted this entire thing to be live and broadcast live. Now, apparently it's going to be released. The recording is going to be released, but I don't understand that. So here's a little something that she said afterwards. This is by way of Disclose TV.
Everybody.
Hello.
Good evening. Well, I have just finished testifying. I answered every one of their questions as fully as I could, based on what I knew, and what I knew is what I said in my statement this morning. I never met Jeffrey Epstein, never had any connection or communication with him. I knew Ghislaine Maxwell casually as an acquaintance. But whatever they asked me, I did my very best to respond. It was disappointing that they refused to hold a public hearing, so I wouldn't have to be out here characterizing it for you. You could have seen it for yourself. We had asked for that. We think it would have been better for the committee and its efforts to gather whatever information they are seeking. We had a bit of a challenge in the beginning because we had agreed upon rules based on the fact it was going to be a closed hearing at their demand, and one of the members violated that rule.
Okay, there you go.
It was very upsetting because it suggested that they might violate other of our agreements.
I'm telling you, she's very sly. Very, very sly. You can say whatever you want about Hillary Clinton, but she is so sly and far more dangerous than Bill.
So we had to cease the hearing for a period of time until we could get assurances that no rules would be triggered numerous times. It then got, at the end, quite unusual because I started being asked about UFOs and a series of questions about Pizzagate, one of the most vile, bogus conspiracy theories that was propagated on the internet, that was serving as the basis of a member's questions to me. So
actually, it sprang from your closest advisor's emails, but I don't know. Listen, I don't understand. I don't know what people thought what we were going to get out of this. It was headline grabbing. They're going to sit down and with one day, one the other day. They're going to talk to him about Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know. If we get a couple of it'll be interesting just to hear the actual the questions asked. I mean, she's been asked about UFOs. The Clintons have been very pro UFO disclosure and are often cited and included in on some pretty high production value documentaries on the subject. So I don't know what new angle would have been here. I guess it would be interesting to see how it was tied in with the Jeffrey Epstein themed deposition. But the Pizzagate thing is something else. Anything that's done like this, I have no faith in. No faith whatsoever that anything's really happening. And I often wonder what this was all about as well. But we'll see. We'll see, right? Got Bill tomorrow, and then who the hell knows when they actually release the video, and then we can just take a gander ourselves. Real quick, we have a couple more minutes before Lindsay shows up. Couple more minutes before Lindsay shows up. This is going on in California. In California, there is a guy out there who is running for like a city council or something like that, and he wants to get out ahead of the headlines, let everybody know, yes, I am a sex offender. Just want to put that out there. And of course, that qualifies him to do the work that needs to be done, apparently, in California for one bit of reform or another. By way of Memology 101. Fresno City Council. That's what he's going for.
Well, I believe Fresno deserves leaders that are honest from the very beginning, not the end. So going into this, I am putting my life out there.
Upfront about his status as a registered sex offender, Rene Campos is not running from his past as he runs for office.
I've been given the chance to rehabilitate through the courts and back into the system.
Charged with being in possession of child sex abuse material back in 2018, the Fresno native...
Child sex abuse material. That's one way of saying it.
...says he pled no contest to a misdemeanor charge.
Yeah.
Now launching his campaign to represent District 7 on the Fresno City Council. He says his focus is on safety.
So I say, let's choose somebody outside the box.
How about we put you back inside the box, the boo box? Let's put you back inside the box. Can you imagine the fucking balls? The balls. But that is the environment that has been fostered out there in California. They already have complete deviance working in public service out there. Absolute deviance. That Wiener guy or whatever the hell else. Dude. My gosh. Motherfucker should still be in jail.
Who knows the system from inside out. Because I've experienced the laws that we are trying to reform right now.
Wow. You elect me. I know the system inside and out. I've been in jail. I know the laws that were used against me to put me in jail for my deviant crimes. And I don't know. Let's see if this is a bridge too far for the constituents of Fresno. Let's see if this is a bridge too far. I hope it is. But you just can't tell. You just can't tell anymore. Bill Gates admits he had 2 affairs with Russian women and apologizes to staff over his Jeffrey Epstein ties. Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates has admitted he had 2 affairs with Russian women while married to his now ex-wife Melinda, and issued a groveling apology to his links with convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Gates, 70 years old, told staffers at his foundation on Tuesday he flew on a private plane. But tell me about what I want to know is the Russians. He appears with a woman whose identity has been obscured. Which of the Russians had chlamydia? Does he know which one had the chlamydia? That's what we all want to know. Anyway, there's so much going on out there. There's so much more to say. And since we already had 2 Epstein-related stories in the opening, we might as well just bring in our good friend Lindsay Sharman and just talk with her for a little bit. Lindsay, it's good to see you again.
Hey, Frank, it's great to be here with you and your awesome audience, as always. Thanks for having me.
It really is good to have you along. It's always good to have you stop by, and I know we committed to doing that a little bit more in 2026, so damn, here we are.
It's almost March. It's crazy. Like, we just had New Year's and now it's like March. Like, it gets nuttier every year.
It really does. But I'm okay. I'm okay with speeding through January and February just so we can get to that spring bloom, that mud season. That we have to get through mud season first, and then we're in true spring for about a week and a half, and then it becomes stifling with the heat. But let me ask you something. So far, what has been the big story for you? I know that you have spent a little bit of time on the Epstein files because, of course, that goes to some pretty esoteric places and to also some, I don't know, eschatological places there too. When you think about the end of the earth and what cataclysm or does everybody seem to be preparing for? So I want to start there and then go into other generational issues that we have.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know, I think we're old hats at this, you and I. And so I don't know if there's anything in the Epstein files that can surprise us. I mean, living through Pizzagate and seeing all that, and I know Hillary Clinton doesn't think it's a real thing. Of course she wouldn't, because she's heavily implicated in it. But clearly there was so much that was very, very real and super dark. So having, when was that, like 2014 or something? And whatever.
2016.
Okay. And so you see like the depths of the darkness that you already probably had some idea about before then, but now you're really seeing it. You can't deny it. Like, this is how bad it is, and it's ancient evil and goes all the way back to Carthage, and none of that's a conspiracy theory either. They tried to say that was also conspiracy theory, that Carthage, when they sacrificed babies to Moloch to, get favor and like have their war against Rome and have all their market, business work out all of this. They said that was a conspiracy theory. And then archaeologists found a pit of 30,000 babies and said, oh, I guess they did sacrifice literally their babies. That's not a conspiracy theory. Neither is Pizzagate. So Epstein files come out and it's like, yeah, we knew that. Like, we knew Les Wexner and we knew that all these people, we knew, then we have Jimmy Savile, right? We know this stuff. None of that's surprising, but there are interesting details about the potential, the geomagnetic excursion that's ongoing, the potential for pole flip coming up as soon as 2030 or so. Some people push it out to 2040, but
yeah, let's keep pushing it out, please. I can't stand those stories because they really make me that is hopeless shit right there. Let's just keep pushing those dates out. Damn it.
But whatever we want to call the psychopath class, they seem pretty sure it's coming, right? And they don't tell us about it, but it's another thing that they try to say, like, oh, it's not real, don't worry about it. Yeah, the poles flip sometimes, but nothing bad happens, and it's all good and whatnot, but they're preparing for it. Right. And we've got things like, we already know, again, not conspiracy theory, actually happening, the seed vaults and these sorts of things, the genetic banks and those sorts of things. those are all there. And they just say, oh, it's just, in case. And that's cool. I was down with that. I believed that for a long time, actually. Like, yeah, just in case a meteor strikes or something happens. Like now we have a seed vault and that's cool. But that's not all. Now we have this like glut of, psychopath underground bunkers. And, Mark Zuckerberg's talking about his underground bunker and all of the food he produces and how he could survive a, potential apocalypse. It's a weird place to aim for it in Hawaii. A tiny dot in a vast ocean doesn't seem like the best place to be, in my opinion. But he's talking about it. But Epstein was building bunkers too. And what's crazy, so people called that a conspiracy theory, but his emails show that he was. And in one of the emails, he's actually upset with a contractor who is building one of his bunkers on Little St. James, and that he had used rebar in the walls. So angry that you'd use rebar. There's other emails talking about using rebar and how we need to use it in this way and that way. He's clearly not just opposed to rebar, but he's opposed to rebar in the bunker. And the reason why you might be opposed to rebar in your bunker is if you are pretty sure the potential cataclysm that's coming is electromagnetic in nature. And a pole reversal or a solar micronova, which are two of the potential things that could happen as this geomagnetic excursion, the poles wandering, right, continues. Those are electromagnetic. And so if you're in a bunker that has metal, now you're conducting that instead of repelling it and being safe from it. So there's the only reason that we can think of why he would be mad about rebar.
I had missed that part. Part. You see, there was something for everybody in this, and of course, for as compelling as it is, I always have to just say, hold yourself back. You just don't know. But this is something that we had known for a while. I mean, back in 2000. When the hell was it? It might have been 2019 when he supposedly kicked the bucket. That's when we found that he was not only interested in underground tunnel building and underground structure building, but he was on the board. He was on the board of that lifeboat company that did things like this. So and then of course they quickly removed him off of their website. They're still in business, but that is like a chapter that they don't like to go back on. And now there's a little bit more attention spent on what was going on in New Mexico in the desert with the genetic stuff. And that was pretty cool to get some horrifying levels of validation on that for those of us who have been reading it for years. But because I think where it also leaves us is whether you are a newcomer or whether, like you said, an old hat, we're all asking the same question at one time or another. Okay, so now what? And okay, where we go next? And it actually goes hand in hand with some of the other questions that I had for you tonight about breaking cycles, because I came across this one video. That I was discussing last night, and it was a video that was about people who I think that the whole the caption of the video was, when I became a parent, I realized how less I understand my parents, how much less they understand their parents after becoming a parent. Whereas you would expect that you would get a little bit more perspective on what your parents went through and who they were. Now, I got a lot of perspective on just how young my parents were and just how lost they probably felt that first night that they brought me home. Just like me and Lauren were lost the first night we brought Aurora home. But your instincts kick in and you just deal with the fatigue, and you just know you're on a path you have to walk, and it's been done billions of times over the course of human history. And but this was coming at it from a different point of view, where people were expressing how certain types of traumas, maybe it wasn't something that was really heavily like a heavy form of abuse, but even just maybe a preconceived notion of the world about how life has to be, and the way that we are as men and as women, and these preconceived notions about the world that are given to us by school and by the authorities in the medical industry or the authorities in Hollywood or anything else like that. And it came down to people who probably see life completely differently from the person that is below them in the comment section, have just realized that something's not right. This is not the way we should be living. And they want to break, there's clamoring to break the cycle of, what their parents gave them, what their parents gave them, what their parents gave that, going back and back and back. And then, for us, we were wondering, hey, when did we go off track? If we can set a reset point in the culture that we can go back and it would be a really good place to just kind of like maintain, where would it be? But in the meantime, I want to throw you the overall theme of generational cycles, because I know that you deal with unpacking trauma all the time, and of course you were inside the school system. So where do you start with this? Would you just even putting your thoughts together?
Well, yeah, I'll start actually with kind of going back again to like Carthage. We have a long history of humans of not basically caring about children. And like, it sounds horrible, but it's very true. We look at them as objects, and we looked at them as tiny adults. And this is like a very distinct ideology throughout Western and Eastern, both cultures of, you got a little adult with you here. Go send them out into the fields and like have them shuck oysters. Or they're smoking cigarettes. Sometimes you can find these pictures of like kids, right, when cameras were just coming out, and they're like smoking, and they're like 6, right? And there's places in the world where it's still happening, in all sorts of places. But we just looked at them as tiny adults. We didn't think of childhood as a distinct period in a life, except in that we understood people are learning, kids are learning, they're getting better and better. And then when they're an adult, it's like a kind of different. But overall, it wasn't like, kids are sacred. And they're also quite tender and super precious. And also like they learn like this, and here's the best way to help them do it. We didn't have those sorts of ideas. It's relatively new. And so in like the 20th century or so, we start to get more and more into like, kids are kids. Let's let them be kids. Let's honor them as children. It was actually Jesus and Christianity that brought in the idea that children are sacred and should be protected. And before that, it was kind of like, they die or not, you sacrifice them or not, whatever, in like various cultures to different degrees. But again, that was the first sort of codification of this idea that children are sacred.
Yeah.
And we should respect that. And it still took us 2,000 years to get to like, no, really, they really are sacred. And so this is actually a still burgeoning concept in humanity. It's a part of our consciousness and our higher development. And so there's lots of trauma to be healed, and there's lots of mistakes that are still relatively new. And one of the ones that's amazing to me is this sort of revolution in circumcision.
Oh,
right?
Well, that's a good one. I would listen. I still have not had like a big circumcision night. But that's a big can of worms right there.
And it's very triggering to a lot of people, both ways. If you say I'm going to circumcise, some people are going to get very triggered because they've researched it deeply, and they're like, you're just torturing your child for no reason. And the people who are committed to doing it because it's unquestioned, because it was done to them, because why wouldn't you do it? And then it's triggering to say that maybe you shouldn't. And they're like, why would you even say that? So it's a hot topic, actually. But
it comes at this point. It's so ingrained in the culture that what I hear from most, parents to be, mothers and fathers alike, is that when he comes of age sexually, I don't want him to be ostracized because everybody else is cut. It just comes down to that, where they don't want it. So. And I understand, just like everything else, you want your kids to have the best clothes. You want them to have all the same genes everybody else does. You want them to have the same penis. It doesn't make it. But when you think about what actually goes into it, and the fact that most doctors are just like, you just get it done. Yeah, sure, they're going to feel pain, but they're not going to remember it. It's like, but it's still a present. It's an experience in the present, though.
You know what else is they do remember it. We have epigenetic memory, and we've proven that beyond a shadow of a doubt. And that means we remember things that didn't even happen to us. They happened to our ancestors. It's in our genes. So you have prolonged famine, or you have prolonged periods of oppression and depression in people, and like that's in your genetic code. And so you're more, right? You're preconceived, or anyways, you're going to experience things like that. Or whether you remember it clearly is not the point. It is actually in you to some degree. And, from a spiritual perspective or a metaphysical or even from an emotional, psychological perspective, that stuff still is with you, even if you don't have a clear memory. So it's traumatizing. And if you think about the way it would traumatize a young boy just out of the womb to be taken from the mom and then have the most sensitive part of his body without anesthetics cut apart. The brain scans show that trauma happens. The child often goes into this like apoplectic fit, like they are not even moving anymore because they're so dissociated from the enormous amounts of pain. Yeah, they're going to remember it. It's just not going to be a conscious memory. So you've given them the memory of abandonment and deep pain and the lack of protection from it. That's a horrible way to start your relationship with your son, in my opinion, right? And so if we're trying to talk about breaking curses or breaking these generational habits that are unquestioned, like that is a good one. And it's good to see that so many people are questioning it. I don't judge people who do it because I get, like you said, this is just a thing. It's unquestioned. You're like, why wouldn't I? I don't want them to be different. I don't want it to be weird. But if you spend a little bit of time with it, it's like a lot of things. You're like, hold up, why are we sending our kids to preschool or anything else? Why are we sending our kids to sleepovers without really knowing a family intimately? And even if we did, or we maybe don't need to have so many times where our kids are outside of our or close family members' view with people that we don't know in situations we can't control. Maybe we don't need to do that. Like maybe we should question, in fact, almost everything that we've been doing and wonder if that's actually what's best for the child or not.
Yeah.
Some of it is, some of it isn't.
Well, yeah, I also get, well, it's very hygienic, right? Well, you know what? You learn how to clean. I mean, you have to clean the behind your ear. If you don't clean the backs of your ears, you get very gritty back there. In fact, the back of your ears can actually smell like ass. If you don't, it's just like, so what are you gonna do? Cut off your earlobes so you can get to it easier? It makes, listen, it's one of those things, yes, that I looked into over time. I actually, where I started really understanding the severity of the whole thing was on Tumblr years ago. A couple of my friends that I met on Tumblr, they had posted these big dissertations about it, and yeah, that's when I started coming to different conclusions. And I said, if I ever had a son, it probably would not happen. But that's another great stepping stone along the line of this, because there's an individual thing, but especially when it comes to generational trauma or generational cycles, I should say, because it's more so we go through these traditions, and you can say that they undercut our ability to succeed as a nation, as a species, whatever the hell it is. We're talking about those types of levels of issues right now, because obviously a country, when you have so many people inside of a country, you're never going to get consensus on anything. But at this point, we have so many problems right now that we are actually checking out as a species. Like we're in population collapse. And there's a lot of cultural issues there to go along with the atmospheric and environmental issues that are ushering this erasure into being. So I want to talk about that. Like for example, here's one thing that I wanted to bring up, and then I want to get to some silver linings, like Gen Z, like what some trends in Gen Z that are really, really great to see right now. But you're a hardworking woman, Lindsay, and I mean, we didn't need a study to see this next thing, but I guess it's nice to have it in writing. Look at what I came across today. This guy, Douglas Mackey, he retweeted this into my timeline, and he said, in theory, if you wanted to defeat a foreign enemy, you could simply give their women high-paying jobs with fancy titles. And what it came along with was this. In a recent study found that giving men a pay raise led them to having more children, while giving women a pay raise led them to having fewer children. And of course, it gets out. Everybody's talking about hypergamy in the chat, in the comments, and everything else like that. But it really gets down to some big questions about what we prioritize in society as far as motherhood, fatherhood, the continuation of the species, and then what has been drilled into the psyche of everyday people for a long time now. And it's a tough nut to crack, because You never want it to be construed as this thing where it's this inherent desire to subjugate women, but some people are arguing that this is the new subjugation, and you can you say whether or not it is a net positive or a net negative, that it's directly tied into less of the first world. And that actually we're losing people, that we're trying to desperately just import whoever we can from outside of our countries just to create warm bodies that have some false sense of economic increase or a hope that they'll assimilate in time to be able to pay for the retirement of all these people who are now just going the way of the dodo bird. What do you think about this? Because I know why men and women both, out of necessity, have to work these days. I understand that, but This is an existential. The existential problem is a phrase that is thrown around very, very, willy-nilly these days. This is an existential problem when you're talking about we're going extinct.
Yeah. Oh, and there's so many other things leading into it too that aren't even this problem, but this is one of the main problems, which is that women are in the workplace. It was a way to essentially get more taxes too, right? Oh, now we have more people to tax in the household, and maybe it made sense at first, and you had easy childcare or whatever. Everything about how we've done it though has destroyed our society. Like we used to live in our extended family sort of homes, or at least neighborhoods, or communities had a lot of family near it. And now who lives near their parents? I think, some people like yourself do, and then a lot of people don't. We're just drawn all over the place. So now it's just you and your husband trying to do this, and you're both going to work and you're going to have a kid. And how is that actually going to go? And so I know many people right now who are having this struggle, people who I work with who are trying to figure out, do I have a baby right now or more than one? And if so, how am I going to actually do that? I need my income. We need my income. And I have to have a baby, though. You have to take some time off for that, at least a little bit. And then once you stop taking time off, how do you afford the childcare and the things? And if you happen to have family close, you can pull it off. But that wasn't always how it was. It was that we just needed one income. That was enough to buy a home, maybe a modest one, but buy a home, right? Live somewhere comfortably and provide more than enough comfort for your woman and your children, but probably more than one, right? Often a lot more than one. And now you can't even do it with two incomes hardly. And so it's right. And so you're right. It is, you kind of have to not have kids essentially. And women have this whole lie sold to them, dude. And I bought it. I was like, oh, I don't need a man in my career, and I'm going to have my career, and it's so important, and I don't need to have children, and da da da. And yeah, sure, that's all true. But really, what is life if it's not getting kids and taking care of them, making them awesome, making their lives wonderful, right? And having that strongest of bonds. And I am personally still not actually regretful that I didn't have kids and won't, but it's a really different story. There's very specific health reasons for that, and it just wouldn't have been that great for me or the child. And but for the most part, that isn't actually fulfilling for women. What most women are actually most fulfilled by having children. And the ones that pretend not to be are heavily indoctrinated and heavily pressured to hold that viewpoint. You're not welcome in the left if you don't hold that viewpoint. I remember this specific moment because I was leftist, I was communist, was very heavily in that world. And I remember realizing wait, if we're really feminists, then we should be just as excited for women who choose to stay home, have kids, raise them, teach them, homeschool them, as we are for the women who choose to go work. And it was no, we're not. Stop saying that. Don't think that, right? That's not acceptable. And it's but what wouldn't that be the logical conclusion of feminism, is that you should choose exactly what makes you happy? No, only if it's go to work, be a career, bad bitch, whatever, boss bitch. And even then it's well, why aren't you just as excited to be a bricklayer or a diesel mechanic or an underwater welder? Why aren't you concerned with that? It's only in these other, areas. And so we've abandoned, and women end up, do you remember this article that came out not that long ago? And it was a woman who was actually, yeah, I'm 55 or 60, maybe she was now. And she's and I'm deeply unhappy. And I realized I lived my whole life as trying to be better than men when I did date men, I was always proving to them that I was better than them and I was more effective and I was a better at business. And like, and now I'm just a lonely old woman with no family and no kids, no husband. And that's my life now. Like, this is what I did. I pushed everything away for this. And now I'm just an empty, right? And I'm like, at least she admitted it.
There's a lot
But
of
who isn't admitting it?
yeah. There's a lot of admissions going on right now, and there's a lot of silence. And again, this is on the flip side of that. You're talking about how women they gravitate toward that, and they just naturally like. I mean, you want to talk about ancient DNA, the wiring in us is the same thing for men too. The fatherhood, yeah, there are bad fathers, there are bad mothers, but you want to know why men would willingly break their backs, bricklaying and drilling for oil and everything else like that to be able to. I mean, the pride of being able to provide for a family. See, the effort really is equal. I mean, yeah. How can you say that being able to incubate life and bring life into the world is not just as, if not more, stunningly incredible than being able to work on any of those floating oil rigs in the Caribbean? I mean, the what everybody contributes naturally is so incredible, but all that gets thrown away with it, and men are suffering too because nobody's talking to each other anymore. I actually saw that Gen Z is barely even having sex anymore.
I know. I'm like, they're like, it's too much trouble. You might get sued by a woman. Your kid's going to get taken from you and like forced through gender reassignment surgery against your will. And like, why bother? I'm like, oh God.
Well, whenever you do something, I feel like whenever you do something that contributes to, you think that, okay, we have a goal that we want to go out there and attain. But then you go and you realize that everything that you do contributes to some form of social discord and has even extinction level reproduction rates waiting for you at the other end of it. I have to say that is evidence that whatever you're doing, so that some people would call progressive, is actually antithetical to nature, because if this is something that we were meant to do, we would have never made it out of the Stone Age. We would have never made it out of the Stone Age. We would have never done anything. And I personally, you made the comment before, I am of the Aaron Russo camp when it comes to feminism, that, in every cause underneath that umbrella, that it was primarily a way at first to double the labor base, double the tax base, double the consumer base, and dilute the cohesion of families. And of course, from there, knowing the proclivities of both sexes, it was also going to expand the size of government after a few election cycles, and here we are. But fast forward to today, you got this false sense of increase that we had from, the 20th century is now being offset by the subsequent population collapse, which is another reason why mass migration is being triggered right now outside of election fraud reasons. But, someone must have been hoping to replicate some aspect of the feminism boom, the liberation boom that we got, even though it was a poor replication because, American women were at least literate. And what we're bringing in right now is literate and dependent on the government from the onset. So it's just a big mess right now. So you want to talk about cycles that need to be broken. This is one of them.
Yeah. Man, I think it'd be so cool if we got back to like people having like 10 kids, like my grandparents all had like 10 siblings.
I'm hoping that I'm really hoping that for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. I think Alpha has the best clean slate right now. If anybody can take that and run with it, it would be my daughter's generation. I really hope that for them.
I do too. I love that they're actually called Alpha for that reason. Maybe it's an accident, but it turns out like they might be the ones to restart sort of the best sorts of civilization, which do rest on the family. I love G.K. Chesterton, who talks about that. C.S. Lewis talks about it, and they're both absolutely right that you don't have a civilization without the family. The family is the central unit, and the family does consist of a man and a woman who have kids. And I don't care if people are gay or trans or whatever, and you can still have some kind of a family, but the family has to have like mating pairs of humans who produce children, and that has to be the fundamental aspect. And from there you get communities and cities and on until you get the state or the government, which rests upon all of that. So if you don't have that, you have nothing. And so I hope these younger generations are doing that. What I saw too, even before I left teaching, had a little bit less contact with kids, but I still have kids in the extended sort of circle, family and friends and otherwise of these generations. And I still see it continuing. It is a sort of like we were talking about breaking of those sorts of change and the chains and questioning, why are we doing things? And is it actually the best thing? And, I saw a lot of even my students before I left public school teaching who were instantly like, we're going to get married, we're going to start having kids, and followed some of them on Facebook and seeing them have like first, second, third, fourth kids. And so I'm like, ooh, fingers crossed, right? We're headed the right direction. And I also see a lot of these young kids, like 6, 7 to 12 to 18 who like won't eat sugar, won't eat junk food, won't drink soda. They want to work out all the time. They're like looking into supplements and stuff and like buying them with their own money. And I'm like, I'm super impressed because their parents aren't even necessarily doing those things.
See, that's the wonderful thing. I'm saying that there's a lot to say about where we are right now, because there are tons of people who depending on their various levels of being awakened to how the world works and who is messaging and who is grooming us into one cattle pen or another. Everybody is, that I know, to a great extent at least, are making the determination that something is horribly wrong and that we are, our lifespans are shrinking all of a sudden. We work our asses off for so much less that we are just not getting anything out of this, no matter how much more effort we put in. And of course, that's not just all economic. That there's other things there. Why our relationships are suffering, how much social media is a part of it, and how much of it is really just where, we are being just engineered by this stuff behaviorally and everything else. And perhaps, for example, I saw that Gen Z, this one study that says that they are drinking 87% less alcohol than prior generations. Some studies have shown that. Others have had that down to like maybe 47% or something like that. 87%. Now you can make a joke that, when you're on several types of antidepressants, it's not good to drink. But so there can be that aspect in there. But there's also, I remember this about a year or two ago, Hollywood reporters, they were freaking out a couple of years ago because Gen Z in particular was expressing that they wanted to see less sex in television and series and all that stuff and movies, and they actually wanted to see more platonic relationship. They wanted to see more friendships, more like Stand By Me kind of, relationships put on screen. And it was a really pathetic thing to watch several of these Hollywood reporter types talk about these in these articles, because these adults were essentially complaining that children were too prude. And it was like real addict behavior. You know how when you have a problem and you want other people to be doing something that no longer serves you, so you don't feel judged when you do it. This is how liberals act when anyone wants to act modestly in any way. And it's interesting to see how there is a natural pulling away from this stuff. And I hope that that's really what makes a couple of links in the chain break.
Yeah, well, and maybe that's part of what's driving, because those same generations are going to church in larger numbers than the generations preceding them. And so, in church, you find this sort of, there's safety there. There's the reinforcement of, these morals and structures that are actually good for people. And I know that church triggers a lot of people. Mentioning Jesus triggers a lot of people. Like anything about Christianity triggers a lot of people, but not necessarily this generation. And that's so hopeful for me too. I don't necessarily care who does or doesn't go to church or whatnot, but I also understand that churches are the backbone of civilization, like the undergirding of every community, and something much better to rely on than a government, right? As far as programs and social lifting people up and supporting people who are down on their luck. churches are way better for this. That's actually what should happen instead of social programs, in my opinion. And it's not so much about the religion itself as it is about the social cohesiveness that comes along with that type of experience. And so maybe that's part of why they're seeking it out, right? I also just think they see this level of sort of evil and depravity, and it's like terrifying, and they're like, man, if this is the world, maybe I need something else, and maybe it's God, right? Like if there's this much evil and it seems to be so pervasive, like perhaps it's time to sort of get spiritual armor on, right?
Yeah.
And so they're going to those things too. And I'm glad. I couldn't be happier to hear that, actually, right? That this is something that's increasing. And I love that they're going to get what they need somewhere. That maybe it'll be part of the resurgence of, actual traditional values. You can have, non-forced conformity, and, people can still allowed to be whoever and whatever they are. And that's definitely true, but you can also have this social cohesion and a church that sort of centralizes that. And I think that's beautiful. So yeah, I didn't see that coming. I'll tell you, like that shocked me.
I didn't know either. I mean, I knew the old rule that, whatever parents think is cool, the children are going to hate. And opposite that there too, whatever parents hate, the children are going to love. And it just so happens we are in a position now where so many parents, millennial and Gen X, they just steeped too long in agnostic, atheistic, kind of progressive nonsense, and it's very snooty and very arrogant and all that shit. And it's I was in knowing that trend, I was like, okay, well, you know what? We're gonna have to swing back at some point. Maybe this is it. And so far, I like what I'm seeing now. In the meantime, we got to find a way to hold down the fort and do some interesting things. So maybe we can pass the baton to Gen Alpha and say, okay, now run as fast as you can. Go.
Like literally away from everything.
And don't look back. Don't look back. But wait. Take these history books. You have to know what came before you, please. And damn. Okay, so I have something for you before we depart. Synchronicity. I want to talk to you about the inner working. What do you believe it generates things like synchronicity, and what value it has, if anything, in just giving us a little bit of insight into how time works, or consciousness works, collective consciousness works. Because there's another crazy synchronicity or series of synchronicity that has popped up around the U.S. men's hockey team winning gold. Now, the last one that everybody was looking into was after Charlie Kirk got shot, and that crazy amount of data that was coming out about the Snake Eyes movie with Nicolas Cage. And people saying, okay, well, is it predictive programming? How could it be predictive programming if, this thing was being filmed when Charlie Kirk was only 2 or 3 years old? Listen to this. And I want to hear your thoughts and theories on synchronicity and what this means, if at all, if it means anything at all. February 22nd, 1980 was the Miracle on Ice. That was the last time that the United States won gold, hockey gold, and that was in Lake Placid, New York versus the Russians. That was on February 22nd, 1980. On February 22nd, 2026, Jack Hughes scores the U.S. Olympic game-winning goal for Team USA 46 years to the day that they won the Miracle on Ice. Now, that's not where it gets crazy. Where it starts getting crazy is not that 40 years to the day they won the next 46 years to the day they won the next medal, but that Jack Hughes, the one that was born in 1957, was one of the final cuts, one of the people who was cut from the 1980 team 46 years prior. So a guy named Jack Hughes was cut from that team, and he was the last one. They went on to win the gold without him, and then 46 years later, that is just... I mean, Jack Hughes who now plays for the New Jersey Devils, scores the goal that wins them the gold. Now, the crazy thing is that 46 years later, well, Jack Hughes, that was born in 1957, he played in the NHL for only 46 games. And he was drafted by the Colorado Rockies, who later became the New Jersey Devils. And now the current Jack Hughes, like I said, the 2026 hero, plays for the New Jersey Devils. It like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, you could say, wow, that's a lot of coincidences, but come on now. That's just so thick.
I love it. I'll say this. It doesn't mean we're living in a simulation, except that we are in a hollow fractal universe, in my opinion, which means all information is at every point of this experience. There is nowhere that all the information of the universe is not, right? So all the past, all the present, all the way through all the aspects of the universe, it's all right here, right now, right? Which is a higher dimensional way of actually looking at physics and is actually represented by physics. There's also who said it? I don't know if it was Einstein or someone said the universe laughs in numbers, right?
That's interesting.
Right? There's sort of like a wink and a nod being given to anybody who's really paying attention. And that really our attention is what focuses any amount of information. Our attention or our consciousness is non-local, meaning it's not here in our brain, right? We know that because we have people who see things in the future and see things in the past that they couldn't possibly know, and go out of body and see the pink shoe that's on the roof of the hospital and then tell their doctor about it. And, we know that our consciousness is not attached to, it's here with our body most of the time, but it's not technically here. It's anywhere it needs to be or wants to be, actually. And so it can go all over the place. And it also seems like we have enough data to say that big events that touch the hearts and the minds of a lot of people tend to echo out into time further. And so what we saw, like when 9/11 happened, there was not connected to 9/11, there was a research team that was doing, I think it was with the Noetic Sciences group, but they were doing research on dreams and dream patterns and like the collective consciousness, and seeing like if there were spikes of, people dreaming about certain things at certain times. And they found that leading up to 9/11, tons of people had dreams about towers, about planes, about crashes, about terrorists, about cabins, about box cutters, and whatever you think did or didn't happen, those are the ideas that at least went into the mass consciousness about that event. I mean, they're dreaming about it before it ever happened. And these aren't people who would otherwise be, think that they were psychic or anything else. They're just accidentally receiving this information, right? Seemingly. And seemingly because it was such a big event that psychic impact of it like rippled it out in time. And so we actually see things like this Jack Hughes synchronicity a lot. We see it a lot. We saw somebody write a book about the Titanic before the Titanic was even built as a boat. It was an author who was not connected to any of the people who may have pulled that off intentionally, right? For insurance reasons or otherwise. Not connected at all, right? We've seen things like that happen. And when they happen most often, aside from people who actually are perhaps psychic or gifted in some way, is in art. And in art, we see people there's also a number of like album covers, songs, like paintings that seem to have predicted 9/11, and movies and shows and all sorts of things and all sorts of events like that we see also. And so this movie or this experience or this hockey recurrence, like people tend to seemingly be able to pick up on it. It is really weird. It's not like they named their kid Jack Hughes because of the hockey guy. It's not like he picked up hockey because he was named Jack Hughes. So it is also quite strange. But I feel like all of these things are the universe or God or whatever you want to call it, sort of winking at us and being like, yeah, things are weird. They're weirder than you think they are. And it's actually really beautiful and amazing. And maybe there's predictive programming, but most of the stuff I've seen that's said to be that, I actually think is more of like a consciousness echo that an artist is accidentally sort of channeling through.
I'm totally on board with that. The whole idea of simulation theory, at least the way I had come to understand it, maybe there are more crude theories about simulations, that this is just a computer program and we are binary code that has come to life inside of it, and we have this conversation. There's no autonomy between the two of us, and that's all ridiculous to me. The simulation theory about immersion is an interesting one. We can get into that some other time. But as far as this goes, I like that. The whole idea of echoes. I think about that especially when I've had my conversations with paranormal investigators to talk about what they believe, the classification of some of the specters, the ghosts, the spirits that they've come in contact with that don't necessarily have any, people will talk about demonic confrontations or anything like that, where that they know that they are communing with, or communicating, I should say, trying to attempt not to commune with it, but to communicating with a consciousness, that there's an intelligence there. Whereas some of my guests in the past who have talked about going to investigate certain hauntings and paranormal activity in one house or another, and they will come in contact and they will gain testimony from people who live there about how the things that they are seeing are more so like broken records, like it's residue. Like there is a woman that is constantly cleaning the dishes, or that they're always seeing somebody who is in what seems to be this unending loop of an act, just or a fragment of an act from a past life. That it's more so like a broken record, that there is an echo there, and it's not like you're talking to Captain Howdy from The Exorcist or anything like that. So, something along those lines. Who the hell knows? And everybody's got, an interesting theory, some more interesting than others, but I just hope that all the answers are on the other side of that great veil we have to walk through one day, because damn, man, I want to know how the trick is done. I really do.
It seems impossible. I've had experiences too where the thing that happened was dependent on me meeting someone years later and then talking to them and having a friendship with them. And then the thing that happened 5 years before could have happened. So it's retrocausal. But it's like, well, then how did it happen if I didn't meet for 5 years? And then, what is time then? Like, it doesn't actually even exist in a linear state. We experience it that way. But we can be beyond that limitation as well. We can experience things beyond that. And, I think most people have had deja vu, which is at least some sort of time echo of hold on, have I actually done this before? Did I dream it?
Oh man, that happened
at some
to me.
point?
Lindsay, 2 weeks ago, it was happening to me in the living room, and I said, damn. And Lauren said, well, she was cleaning dishes or something. She said, what? I said, it's a deja vu. It's the second time I had it this week, and it's not stopping. It's happening right now. It keeps going. It's so crazy.
I had one, I was in Ireland, I was 16, and I was in a pub in Ireland, and I stopped, and all of a sudden everything seemed super weird, and I just knew everything that was going to happen. It was such a clear deja vu that I was like, that person's going to say this, and now that person's going to pick up their fork, and then a person with a red shirt I've never seen before is going to walk around this corner, and then that, and it went on for 2 minutes, which doesn't sound like that long, but it was an incredibly long time. And the whole time I was afraid to move or talk because I didn't want to break the spell. And I wanted to see how long could I continue to predict every word and every movement of every person. And then finally it just stopped. And I was like, what the hell just happened? How did that happen? And how did I know? And, then you get into questions of free will. Or is everything preordained, or is it just kind of sure for a short time and then it becomes sort of muddy? Who knows?
Did you ever see that movie, the Nicolas Cage? I have to go look it up right now. The Nicolas Cage movie Next.
I don't think so.
The Nicolas Cage movie Next. It's one of his many, many great classics. And in this movie, he's a psychic who can, his power is that he has forward vision. He's clairvoyant for two minutes into the future.
Oh, wow.
So he can see the next 2 minutes, what's going to happen, bingo, bango, which is seriously, a really, really hard deja vu experience. Feels like you can get at least a minute and a half out of it. And I was just thinking, this character that he plays has a wonderful time in the casino. You imagine sitting down at a blackjack table and what is coming for the next 2 minutes. I mean, you'd never have to work again. You just have to be modest with your winnings and, circulate a little bit and all that shit. But damn, I wish I had just a little bit of that. I'll go up to Mohegan Sun next week, but
Might
still
make you go a little bit crazy, but
all I need is just one big day. I need
Yeah.
one big day at the roulette table. I just want to throw. I'll put. You put $20,000 down on any one number and color combination, and you hit because you know what's coming 2 minutes from there. I mean, all you need to do that is once a year. you're fine.
You can turn it on and off again. That's probably really cool. Here's my experience. I do tarot, and I don't generally do like future prediction tarot, but most readings have at least a couple cards that are somewhat in the future. I do once a year offer a yearly tarot, which we look at January, February, March, all the way through the year. We get a card for each month. And the reason people like that reading is because every year it's super accurate for them. And so they like to get a look ahead. And I'm always like, okay, but let's remember that especially as we get out to like November, December of that year, things get a little bit less reliable. So maybe it's going to go that way, but maybe on the way there, you made all these different choices, or you grew in these ways, or you healed things and whatever. And that changes the future. So in my experience, the future is not actually fixed. It's quite probable that certain things will happen, and the probability can go out a certain distance in time, and then it starts to fall apart, and then it starts to be like, we'll see what happens, right?
Yeah.
So that's my experience. That is free will. It's not preordained, right? But yeah, 2 minutes would get you millions.
Oh, millions. And you know what it is when you talk about the way that you just described how the future kind of dissipates in front of you. I think that's interesting there too, because I've actually envisioned that being the case, like some mornings out of the week. Like there's some days that I'm really rocking and rolling, and I know exactly what I'm going to do. Other days I have to take the long way to the finish line because there are just certain things about that night's show that I haven't figured out yet. I hate those days, I really do. But then there are days, and I'm sure everybody in the audience knows this, where you suddenly have this incredible rush of energy and inspiration, and you're going to do so many things, but you're just stuck in traffic. You got to get home right now because you know I need to put this. I am so motivated right now. But I'm like 10 minutes away before I could apply this to some kind of a proactive effort, you know? And when you think about how enthusiasm can so quickly wane, if we were able to actually see, like looking glass style, into the future, what the future could be when you are enthusiastic and ready to rock, the future probably is so bright. And then as the enthusiasm just kind of like sputters out, the probabilities probably just collapse in on itself like a dying star.
Yeah.
And that's just the whole thing. You have to, like, how do you keep those valves open? Because, you know, it really is true that the the enthusiasm is a fire that is so magnetic, and it is in a way a cheat code in predicting the future, because you're essentially setting an intention that you refuse to allow to go any other way. And that's one way of making sure that you have a lot more good days than bad. But you know what? Speaking of head trips and everything else, and speaking of the passage of time, we're already knocking on March's door. You know what's going to happen. We have to talk before then, but it's going to be the first week of October before you know it, and you and I are going to be reading Shutter Island together, and that is a story all about head tripping. So I can't wait for that for book club this year.
Oh, it's going to be so exciting. Yeah, I've never read it, which is not always the case. You always find books for me that I've never read, which I love. So that's going to be really cool. And then didn't you say there's a movie too, right?
And I have not seen the movie from start to finish.
I haven't either.
So this is going to be very, very fresh. You know, we just did Ready Player One. We did the book, and then I rewatched the movie. The movie's still good, but the book is fucking fantastic. So if you should definitely read Ready Player One if you haven't.
Yeah. No, I haven't yet. I'm actually reading The 3-Body Problem right now, which I know was made into a Netflix show, and I don't know how good or bad that was. I've never seen it or really heard anything about it. So the book is all new for me, but it is a really good book. It was unexpectedly superb. I'm almost done. And yeah, not what I thought it was going to be at all.
Well, I mean, maybe it becomes a book club pick one day. Who knows? And of course I have all of your books right down here in my my special stash book club or bookshelf over here, all of Lindsay's work. You know what? That's a good way to end. Let everybody know where they can find your streams, where they can find your published works, everything else, please.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, roguesoul.org is my site. You can do everything there. My books are there if you want to get them from me. My shop is there. I have orgone that people can buy there. You can also book with me, one-on-one sessions there. You can link to all the places where my show, Rogue Soul, is. You can find it on Rumble, on YouTube, which was reinstated recently, and every podcast platform that exists. You can listen to it or watch it. The books also, if you want to listen to them, they're on Audible. If you want to get them from Amazon or Barnes & Noble, there are, of course, other places too. But if you like to read and you want my books, then I sign them for you. I do a little channel source message inscription for you. And so you get a little extra. But yeah, they're super cool. I feel like everyone should read my fictional trilogy. It's such a good story. And if you were going to read just one, I'm going to suggest you read Earth, A Trough in Time. It's actually the middle book. It's the second, but it's key. It's pretty cool. You could read it standalone and it's fantastic. So yeah, go check it all out at roguesoul.org. And thank you, Frank, as always, for having me. It's always fun to chat.
It's always fun to chat. I just put roguesoul.org in the episode description on YouTube. I'll make sure that gets copied and pasted and put everywhere else when I get home and I'm uploading the podcast. And yeah, I'll probably talk to you, tomorrow or early next week, and we'll figure out a spring date for you to come back, because these are great talks.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I can't wait.
All right. Have a great night.
All right. You too. Bye.
Lindsay Sharman, everybody. She's great to hang out with. Really is. Great to read books with as well. Okay. So you guys can call in with whatever the hell you want. We're going to get into some other stuff. A lot of different things that I have for you. We have reels that we're going to come up later on, but I want to hear from you. The real question of the night is, do we have the will to win? And my whole thing is, I think that we really are foundational pieces right now. We have to put the new cornerstone down. We have to just lay something down so that the next couple of generations takes the baton and runs. And they got to take the momentum that is created by just that one of the oldest laws of the universe, that children will like what their parents hate. At least some will. You want to play on the rebellion aspect, but then there's another aspect there too that I want to talk about. Some of you have had fantastic parents. Many of you have had fantastic parents. But what I want to hear from is that, I want to hear from the people, whether you're boomer, whether you are Gen X, millennial, or even if we have some older Gen Z out there. Did you have red-pilled OG conspiracy theorist parents? I want to hear from you guys. It's not a rule. I guess at this point it's an exception. They would be the exceptions to the rule, especially as farther back you go. Because like we said before, what are some of the cycles that need to really be broken, that are breaking right now? We're breaking cycles on education and the authority that's been vested in the government and also the local school board and what they really know. How many times have we heard teachers union reps and school boards from one district or another around the country use that phrase co-parenting, that we are co-parenting your children? That it's not just about reading, writing, and arithmetic. It's about, we are here to help raise your children. And they say this with all seriousness, with an authority that they believe has been vested in them by God himself. But they don't believe in God. And that's another one of the things they want to make sure is not in school. So what is the cycle that really what are the cycles that need to be broken? The absolute faith in the medical system, the absolute faith in a doctor's training, not in a doctor's intention, but in a doctor's training and in a doctor's adherence to whatever their medical network is telling them to prescribe or telling them to, what is it? The whole idea that informed consent goes out the window and a doctor can fire a patient for having free will. There's a lot of cycles that need to be broken beyond just political ones. And I know that politics is part of a lot of the cycles, but still, I want to hear from you guys and gals, just general thoughts you had for tonight. If you're a psychic that has used your psychic abilities to get you some kind of financial gain in Las Vegas or some other Indian reservation like Foxwoods or Mohegan Sun. I'm a fan of Mohegan Sun. You can go out there, play a little blackjack, smoke a cigar. Then you can go to Michael Jordan Steakhouse and have a 23-layer chocolate cake. Exquisite. Exquisite. What do you want from me? To not? Man, that chocolate cake makes me so horny I can see gravity.
I can fucking see gravity right now. Oh, what the hell is this? What voice is this? I didn't expect this one. What's this one?
Thank you. Thank you. I know. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. All righty. Well, Jay Brits just draw. Oh, I got to start making sure that these names are in the whatchamacallit. First, let me make sure that the phone lines are on. 914-200-0269. Give me a call for some initial whatevers, initial thoughts. And then we're going to move on to some other extra things I have over here. Because it's Thursday night. It's good energy in the air. I want to hear from you guys. And call it. Call it now. 914-200-0269. Thank you to my cousin Trevor for making this animation. 914-200-0269. Don't be a piece of shit. Call in. Have a fun time with me. Oh, man. Watch. Now nobody's going to call in. I can't wait to talk to you. Don't worry about it. All right, here we go. Jay Brits, thank you so much. Tom Wilbur says, always great show with great guests. The wife got us in on Keto Brainz raffle, so I want in on yours. I put it toward the new AC unit. Keep up the great work, Frank. Well, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tom. The AC is going to get replaced by hook or by crook. You guys are making it easier. No doubt about it. I'll probably do that in April or May when it starts becoming necessary. Right now, I think we can coast. And in April and May, you can usually coast on just cracking open the window and getting a nice cool breeze mixed with pigeon shit coming from the alleyway over here. Let's take a call first from Cynthia. You there?
Hey, Frank, it's Willie, 63 again.
Hey, Willie. Sorry, I called you Cynthia.
That's okay. The phone's in my wife's name.
Oh, boy.
Hey, you were talking about, the apple falling far from the tree or close to the tree and kids being like their parents or not like their parents. My mom and dad were really pretty, straight-laced, pretty strict, kept me under wraps. I rebelled. About age 20, 21, I was still coming home drunk, still living at home. And my dad sat me down and said, son, you got 30 days to get out of my house. He'd had his fill. He'd had his limit. And I tested him. And so I got out and I got me a little apartment, got out on my own and was working. And I had the good fortune later on in life, in my 30s, after I'd had a couple of boys, young man, a couple of young sons, I had the opportunity to sit down with my very stoic father and say, Dad, thank you for kicking me out of the house. It was probably one of the best things you could have ever done for me. And it just it still resonates with me, and I'll be 63 this year. Dad's been gone 10 years, but I was glad I got that chance to tell him to his face, thanks for kicking me out of the house. I needed that.
What did he say to that?
He just nodded his head. Said, well, see where you're at now. And, from that time on, I was onward and upward. I just needed that correction. And I don't know, your conversation about parents and growing up and looking back at your parents, and I'm glad I'm more like my mom and dad than I wanted to be when I was 20 or 21. You know.
That's one, and you know, I'm glad you got through. I'm glad you got through first. These are calls that I was hoping for, because, you know, like I told Anthony Rispo last night in that comment section of that particular that video that had made me think about some aspects of what could be a nice conversation piece, was really a lot of people who were just dealing with a lot of shit. And in saying, you know, how in how different they found themselves being than their parents, and that how parenthood almost brought out what they realized was unexpressed feelings of trauma or neglect, or I don't know. It seems like some of these people were tormented, and that can't be the average experience. But at the same time, there is always some perspective that people have on the generations that precede them, as far as what did they do that really needed a little bit more fine focusing. What kind of outdated information were they working with, or what kind of time-tested information were they working with that we think that we are too advanced, too sophisticated to take into consideration that perhaps we need. So there's a give and a take there, and I thought that would be a little bit more of an enriching conversation about the passage of time and the changing of hands between generations. Aside from all the browbeating that we do, everybody likes to blame one generation or another for the problems we have. I thought this was a little bit more constructive way to talk about it. So thank you for calling in, sir.
Well, you're absolutely spot on, and I can tell you, too, in my observations of my two sons who are in their 30s now with their own families, that what has come down from my parents in my upbringing and has translated into me being a parent to those two boys in their upbringing, you know, we all had our turbulent times, but they finally came around, and they are some of the most, they make me the most proud. They are two fine, upstanding young men who are bringing up their families and in the church, and you know, we all eventually come around and we mature, and those of us who come through it relatively unscathed, you know, it comes around. It's a reward to me as an older man to see my boys bringing their families up the way I was brought up and the way I tried to bring them up, even though, you know, along the times, across generations, we've all had a rocky time.
Absolutely. There's always that stumbling there, but you know what? We always, I think more or less, we always regain our balance. And I think that's testament. Thank you for the call, sir. It's great to hear from you. I think that's testament to the fact that we're still here. Like I said before, so many of these progressive ideas that were put into place under 100 years ago. You see some of the nightmare threads that I saw today about mechanized childbirth, about women who just don't even want to carry. They're all progressive. They're not like you guys. They're like less than. Talk about how they don't, you know, oh, please let a machine carry my child for me so I don't have to go through 9 months of hell. Like, what the fuck? So thank God this is a completely, the mindset that so many people have where they think it's progress. They think it's progress. The idea that you can actually pass off that incredible honor to incubate life, to be a part of the creation of life, whether you're the father or the mother, and to pass that off to some fucking machine, and to think that is progress. Just like everything else we talked about that was once thought as progress is now contributing, at least in part, to the collapse of civilization itself. That can't be progress if it's so absolutely antithetical to nature, the natural order of things. You know? There's a lot more at play, obviously, than women going into the workplace. It's a factor, no doubt about it. You know, women taking on a 9-to-5 job did not cause a a precipitous crash in sperm count and testosterone and hormone disruption. Obviously, there's a lot more layers to this cake. Okay, it's a Michael Jordan 89 layer cake. Okay, let's go to the there's more calls coming in. Let's take a call from Kelly. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, hon. I just wanted to say good evening. Thanks for taking my call.
Good evening.
And I was kind of steeped in conspiracy theory as a kid. My grandparents raised me. They were like your grandparents, born in 1919, 1920. And my grandfather was in World War II. I tried to get his records because he never talked about the war. And coincidentally, the building that stored his records caught on fire in the 70s, and there were no records they could provide other than he was in the Army.
Really?
But he always said, don't believe nothing you hear and only half of what you see. And that made me wonder what he had seen in the war to make him say that all the time. And they were pro-Nixon. They said Nixon had gotten screwed over. And I was young. I didn't, know politics at that point. And, so I was kind of brought up in questioning everything.
Well, I'm glad you bring that up. And again, thank you, Kelly. You know what? I want to thank you again.
Don't worry about it.
No. I'm thanking.
Y'all.
No. See, now she's leaving. Whatever. I'm still going to thank her. Kelly, much like Jeannie Yankee fan the other night, who got a whole bunch of people subs in Twitch, much like Joricho in the YouTube chat, who got a whole bunch of people subs as YouTube members a week or so before that. Kelly, last night, got like 10 or 12 people subs to the show through Pilled in the chat room over there. Like those are 10 people, 12 people that can show up for the movie, the film club watch parties and do book club with us and the Sunday streams. Like they are full-throated subs right now. And that's just so nice of people to, whenever they become sponsors themselves, that's awesome. But when they actually gift people sponsorships so they can see how much more I give and they can be so much more a part of all the other stuff that happens out off peak hours, it's just so generous. And thank you guys and gals that do that for others, because there's a lot of reasons why some people can't do, $5 a month or something like that. And for them to get a little taste of that and to be able to pick up random sponsorships from chat room generosity alone that's really something special. But yeah, speaking of that, my brother was telling me, for those of you who want to be able to dig a little bit more, I have to ask him. I think he went to genealogy.com or something like that. I don't think he gave like DNA or something like that, but he was able to find both of my grandfathers' draft cards. Able to find draft cards. They looked like they were scanned. And so much more information about their military service just through public records. And I didn't even know. I have to ask him more about where the hell he got that, because I'd like to do a little bit more filling in the gaps as well. Our my mother's father was in the Philippines. He was, I think he was in the 77th and was active in Guam. He was in Guam. Battle of Leyte Gulf, and that's where he got his Purple Heart and a whole bunch of other things going on. And I just want to know more about it. I always had this dream, how awesome it would be if I can find any kind of an archive, anything from that area out there. If he had to have popped up, maybe I hoped always that he popped up incidentally on some sort of reel, some kind of news reel, or any of the footage that was taken at these battlefields out there in the Pacific. It would be really an incredible find to see him. So I wanted to dig into that at some point. But I have so many archiving, personal and family and broadcast archiving projects. I'm going to be working until I'm 70 just to catch up on the last 20 years of work. So. All right, let's see. Over let me get to some more of these super chats before I fall behind everything else. Mark the Carnivore Let me get him in here. Mark Carnivore says, keep up the good work. Well, thank you, Mark. I appreciate you. Jay Britz, thank you. I put him in there. Tom Wilbur, I already got him. I got ST, says, another great show, Frank, thank you. And Lindsay as well. Jorico says, all right, folks, you know the drill. 2026 is not the year of the lurker. Like and subscribe. Be bet, yes. Like, subscribe. Make sure the notifications are on wherever you're watching. Mark Starner, great show, Frank. Thank you. Nakey Lamb says, and large families with many kids helps the kids get along with others early on. At least this is my observation. Wart Guy says, here are some dollars for the best show on the globe. Wart Guy's got some stories to tell us. I can't wait for those one day. Denise Austin says, love to you and the Franklies from Canada. Stowstube, save the best for last. Hope all Franklies are doing beyond well. Shout out to and our Frankly fam. Here's some loot to keep the lights on and keep Frank talking to us on the daily and blessing us with his wonderful presence. Well, come on, man. Stop buttering me up. What is this? Love you, Stowstube. Shotzi, Jay Britz, now he's shouting out other people. Just saying hello and needed an awesome excuse to drop a little bit more into the hat. And then one more from Stowe. Says, evening, Frank, just dropping a couple of super chats. Been tied up with the snow and slacking on our contribution. Oh, you've been buried under the snow up there in Massachusetts, huh? Well, it happens. And Genie Yankee fan just made, 5 more people subs on Twitch. Twitch, remember, you are now linked to the private. You can get into the private Discord chat for members only, and that is where your members only blog password is posted in the pinned message. That'll get you the links to the private streams. That'll get you all of the members only media I post, whether they be pictures or videos or whatever the hell else. So she gave you some great access right there. Look into it. All right, over on Rumble, and then we're going to get to the other things I have. Real Fringe gifted a subscription over on Rumble. Look at that. I put them in over here. Awakened Boomer, Grady says, hi, Frank and Frankly, silver and gold. You're damn right. Jay Semo says, great show. Love that shirt. Thank you, Jay. I already put all of the Rumble chats in here. Ancient Mother Wisdom says, love your show, Frank. Escape to Florida, man. It was 72 here today and sunny. By the way, that pedo dude in California looks like a lady. I think they all try to do that. It's part of the autogynephilia craze that's going on. Ancient Mother Wisdom, Cliff High, was saying that the aliens started the circumcision so that humans wouldn't take their ships. Apparently, men without foreskin can't fly spacecraft. That explains a lot. Wait, the aliens started circumcising people so that the humans wouldn't take their ships. Were we stealing spaceships at a time? Like these fucking humans. This is the 3rd spacecraft jacking this month. It's got to stop, said the manager alien. So, well, we can cut off their foreskin. What is that going to do? I don't know. But we can try. We've got to try something. We keep losing spacecraft. Into It RU says, love the show, Frank. That is new. Into It RU. Okay, take a call. 406, you're on the air. What do you got for us on this Thursday night?
Oh, my gosh, Frank. Happy 20 years.
Thank you. Who's this?
It's Maggie in Montana. Maggie and Nathan, except he's out hauling water and fixing a chainsaw at the moment. And but, yeah, we are just so happy for you. And you were asking one night, how, when did people discover you? And we were thinking, and it was through Tracy Beans.
Where you did. So it was the Dark to Light show?
You know what? I don't remember. I just remember tuning in through her and then just following you from there. And that's when we were still back in California. And and then we just we we had a plan and we stuck to it, and we moved, and now we're surviving in Montana.
Well, I remember you guys. It's been a while since you guys called in. You bunch of you two free spirits out there in the mountains.
Totally. But you know what changed recently? We got, oh my gosh, Starlink.
Oh, how's that been?
Well, it works really well. We're happy with it. We don't keep it on all the time because we can feel it.
Oh, really?
We could feel the 5G, and so we don't keep it on all the time. But now we can use it for, selling things online and whatever we need to do. Calling you.
Well, let me ask. Oh, hold on. Let me ask you something about the Starlink. You say you can feel it. Can you describe what it feels like compared to, say, being in a room where somebody has a Wi-Fi router on?
That's what it is. So that's what it is. So the router is in here. We're in right now we're in a tiny little cabin. And what does it feel like? For me, I kind of feel it in my forehead and my teeth. Not painful, but just kind of like a
current?
Yeah, there you go. That's a very good description. A current.
Do you have do you have fillings like silver fillings?
I have metal fillings, but I don't really feel it there. It's more like in my jaw. Nothing like it's nothing transmitting through my teeth. I just feel it, and I before you said current, I think I was thinking pressure, but current is more of a better description, I think.
Oh, well, that's interesting because you're the first person I've actually spoken to who has Starlink. So I need to ask some questions about it, especially since you have expressed already without being prompted that you have some sort of sensitivity to it. And it's very, very noticeably gone once you turn off the router.
Yeah. But I'm going to say this. When we were in California, we had, I can't even remember whatever router, Verizon or whatever it was, Spectrum, the equipment, and it was the same there. We had an office, and so we would turn it off, because it was the same. So any of that technology, I think it's the same. But here, before we had it, so we had 4 years of just in the trees. You know what I mean? So there's definitely a really great energy that comes off when you're grounding, and then here we added this technology, and I'm like, but we turn it off. We turn it off. Oh, Nathan came in, so hey.
Gotcha. Okay.
Well, good. So I'm just gonna say that technology definitely, we've always felt it.
Got you. Well, hey, you know what? I love the update, and it's good to hear from you guys again. And thank you so much for the very warm congratulations. I want to really just I want to feel this.
We love you, Frank.
Well, thank you. You guys stay warm up there, and I'll talk to you soon. All right?
Yes.
All right.
Be
love
well.
you.
Yeah, those two. They make music and everything up there. Yeah, listen, you want to call in and wish me a happy 20th, you can do that all year. I'm really, really just want to let this was not like a February 2026 thing. This is the whole year. I'm soaking this one up, okay? Because the next time we do this, next time I'll actually stop to acknowledge it will probably be 25 because, quarter century, what are you going to do? I think quarters and also decades. Quarter century, 30 years. I guess every time you hit 10, that's something else. All right. Vesper says, set the timer an hour earlier and that lava lamp will be moving by open credits. I can't set it that. I mean, it'll be open. It'll be on all day. I'm telling you, I put the jester hat on this thing when I get in here at 5:30. I put the jester hat on there like 5:45. It is glooping around by 6:15. Seriously, I just forgot to put the hat on there. I looked over and I realized it was just hanging like a, like one of those cave, what the hell is coming up from what are those spikes that come from the roof of a cave? I don't know how they're called. Anyway, yeah, I saw that this thing was about to drop when Lindsay was on the air. Lindsay was talking. I looked over and I saw this thing started hanging. It started dropping and drooping. I said, oh, shit. And I went full screen. You guys saw it, right? I hope you guys saw it. I was waiting for the chat room to go nuts. Probably happened too quick. Sean Joe, thank you. Sharon says, thank you, Frank. Sharon, you're in there. Sean Joe, sleeve of cookies. You're in there. I put him in. Corey J says, great show. Crickles, this is all on Pilled. Crickles is in. Thank you. Delona is well represented in that list. The Pilled has been nuts. That chat room is they're insane people. I love them. NX17 says, Lindsay is such an intelligent and articulate guest. Thank you for being here with us. I love when she hangs out. She always has so much more to contribute. Not that I expect anything less, but there's always just so much more than what I already expect, and that's what I love. Safety Net, here's some gold for the gold raffle. One love, Lynn. Stephen and Lori missed a lot of shows. Family medical emergency. Happy to be back. Heard someone today said China will join Iran to fight the USA. Sure do love that anniversary tea. Yeah, it's all going to stop. The Iran thing. Already with the lurkers. Thank you. And then Jesse 81138. Thank you for your wonderful contributions over there. Okay, 845. There's a few things I saw. Well, here's a little bit more on PJ Media. The least laid generation in history, Gen Z, is ghosting sex, and the implications are huge. I think it gets down to, it talks a little bit about the alcohol over here, why they're not getting into alcohol. Then here's another one. Then there's also premarital sex. They're saying that back in 1991, more than half, that's 54.1% of all high schoolers were sexually active. And then they joke and saying the other 45.9 lied about it. Yeah, okay. It wasn't enough lying. Trust me. Some people want to get laid. By 2007, the number fell to 48%. 47.8% to be exact. 4 years later, it dropped again to 43% sexually active. By 2017, it was just 39.5%. As of 2023, it is now, at least reported, 31.6%. What's going on with kids today with their wild, out-of-control abstinence and crazy teetotaling? Staying sober and abstaining. What the hell is it? Hey, I think it's actually, it would be great. I think it's not a bad thing at all. I think it's not a bad thing. Obviously, there's a lot more. Hookup culture is not very good in the long run. It's one of those things where hindsight is 20/20, of course, because we had our fun. We all had our fun. But now, not only does that 2020 come back and you look back and you say, okay, well, I could have done without that. I could have done without that too. Could have done without all this. That wasn't very nice. And then there's so much more on top of it. The whole Me Too movement stuff, the whole idea, like, I don't want to be accused of one thing or another. You go into an intimate situation with somebody thinking that you're going to have one outcome, and then all of a sudden it may not even be for another 5 to 10 years that they reimagine something that happened as being abuse, and then all of a sudden it's their accusation against your reputation, and it doesn't even matter if you come out squeaky clean in the end. It's still a really horrible thing to go through. We see this all over the place. So maybe it's all these things coming together that is, it's really encouraging this. It's encouraging this this reset. But there's more here too. Let's see here. No, there's another one here. There's no magic bullet solution, no single policy difference or policy change that will reverse this no nookie trend. But that's to be expected. A problem with multiple causes requires multiple solutions. It can't be any one thing. It must be many different things. Now, this is from PJ Media. You know, it's not really they say one of the biggest problems of all, which we can say maybe it's a silver lining that some people are just saying it's too risky. I don't want to have any problems, and maybe it's just not working out. And maybe I'm saving myself. You know, there is a religious resurgence that's going on there too, but they do bring up something that could add a little bit more of a darker twist to it, and that is the problem of adult content, of porn on the internet. And things are about to get so much worse with AI advances and video generation. We're rapidly approaching the day when a teenage kid will be able to describe any fantasy to his AI and instantly receive a video that specifically is tailored to his or her tastes. And they'll even be able to hear listen, that's for everybody. That's for everybody. But there is something to be said about just consumption where it is right now with porn sites and everything else. That right there is one of the worst demotivators, I'd rather people smoke weed. I told you, it demotivates you. It can maybe, but I don't know. There is something to be said about post-nut clarity. Like if you can bottle that you would be a multi-trillionaire. But that's not a good that comes with so much other filth. Post-nut clarity in a bottle. Can you imagine that? You would be a multi-trillionaire. Fellas, you know. They'd be trillionaires. Whoever came up with that would be a trillionaire overnight. Everybody be knocking down your door. Pfizer would try to kill you immediately, try to steal your work. Pfizer, Novartis, they would come. The CEO would actually show up to do the hit himself. Show up at your house. Show up at your house. Say, hi, I'm the CEO of Pfizer. I'm here to kill you. You can't do this to us. What else is there? Okay, well, that's that. That's that with that. Okay. I have so much stuff for you on the flip side. We're really going to let it loose over there. But for now, one more round. Gribble Sillin says, new stickers are coming. Happy 20th. What, Gribble? Gribble's in there again. Thank you. He made some wonderful stickers for the Jamboree. Revolution says, great show, Frank. Shout out to Stowstube. You know, how about we get Stowstube? Where is it? How about we have Rev and Stowstube actually shout us out right now? Let's do it.
Quite frankly.
Oh, I want those cigars. Give me those cigars right now. Eli P says, great guest and great show. Okay, I am up to date with all of the super chats and all of the Rumble rants and all the gold pills. Everybody's in. I got Vesper in before. That's it. We have 180 names here. Who is going to get a signed copy, signed for them, inscribed for them from Jane Barlow? Be your own shaman. Who else is going to get a Keto Brainz golden ticket so you can go and just scan the QR code and get yourself a full bag? It's going to your house. A cluster of 3 silver quarters that are coming from my private stash, and also a 20th anniversary t-shirt, which you can snag one for yourself right now, tonight, by becoming a monthly sponsor on quitefrankly.tv, on the Sponsor Us tab, or anywhere else. As long as it's $10 or more, you're in. Who's going to get it? Here we go. The winner is, the name is Delona. Delona is winning. Hello, Delona. You have won. That is Mary Delona out of 180 names. Congratulations. Well, good for you. I'm glad that we were able to conclude another wonderful, successful week. and having a fun time. But there's more coming your way because we're going to get together tomorrow. Going to get together tomorrow for a 10:30 a.m. B-Sides. I'm going to have a lot of fun stuff for you guys then, just to kind of usher in the weekend. And I don't know. We'll go from there. For tonight, I would love to invite you all over to the flip side because I have just so much more to do with you. That's a little bit off topic, but to hell with it. Off topic is fun on a Thursday night. One more thank you to you guys. Thank you also to Keto Brainz for giving us these golden tickets and everything else to throw in with everything. That's an amazing amount of value right there. It's about $45 right there, and I really love them. And also, you have until the rest of the weekend. I'll be giving out, pulling the names for not only the $800 product winner for Keto Brainz, but also the runners-up. And I think we're going to put some 20th anniversary shirts into the running for those as well. All you got to use is promo code February at ketobrainz.com. Get anything. Get anything. Get the best nootropic creamer in your cupboards. That's all you need to do. I can't wait for 10:30 tomorrow so I can have the first sip with you. That's it for tonight, everybody. Have a good one. Thank you to everybody over there on Badlands. I love our Badlands night. And the flip side begins right now. Link is going to be in the chat. And if you don't know where the hell the chat is, go to quitefrankly.tv and press play. It's that easy. Good night. No! Almost a perfect week. Ruined. Until later.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Yes, Quite Frankly is filmed before a live studio audience who just got massaged. A big old massage. Hey, everybody. Too many of you to thank for making this week so successful. But I'll catch you on the flip, and I'll see you tomorrow morning. And I'll also see you Saturday night. The week is nowhere near over. Love you guys. See you soon.
Everybody else shit. Fuck. Everybody else shit. Fuck. Everybody else shit. Fuck. Everybody else shit. Fuck.